Hello. How fun is this to be able to spend time together here on the You've Got Nurse Series podcast? This is a place to explore practical ways to improve our health, which heightens our life experience. I invite you to join in with an open heart and an open mind to receive our guest today. Oh my gosh, how fun is this? I am just delighted to share with you Charlene Johnson. And Charlene is a certified Caritas coach and a HeartMath trainer, and that really lights me up because I love studying about the heart-brain coherence. It's just, oh my gosh, it makes such a difference in people's lives. And so, Charlene, I want you to further introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you have been experiencing and what you've been learning to bring you to this point, and also expand a little bit more on what a Caritas coach does.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so delighted to be here with you, Catherine. I love connecting with you. So just a little bit about me. So I've been in the nursing profession about 33 years now. And so initially I was a new grad that went into the NICU. And after the NICU, I decided that I wanted to go into maternal child health. And so I've been in maternal child health for 23 years, and I'm getting ready to retire in July. So it has been a wonderful journey. In addition to that, because I always like to say, yes, I'm a nurse, but I'm actually more than a nurse.
Yes.
I am one who inspires. I love touching the hearts of other human beings. And so I find myself inspiring people through speaking as well. A Caritas coach, let me talk about that because that was a game changer for me. So I have to tell your story about it first, though.
All right.
In 2010, I got absolutely burnt out. At the time, I was a nurse leader, and I started feeling like I was losing something. Didn't really know what it was. I couldn't really sleep well. I was restless. I was uneasy. What once brought me joy began to start being a burden to me, and I became really irritated, and just all of these things going on in 2010. So I kind of hit a crossroad, and then my organization at the time brought in Caring Science, and Caring Science is by Dr. Jean Watson, and I decided, the spark happened again. So I began to start saying, okay, this is who I am, because her theory actually it kind of like forms a language of how we operate, how we behave. And it was what I was doing already, but she just actually articulated it with the languages that we can actually use as practices. And so I immediately got ignited, and I wanted to become a Caritas coach. And so a Caritas coach, a certified Caritas coach, is one who goes through a 6-month training. And so my organization put me through that. And the powerful thing about being a Caritas coach is that it teaches me the ability to be while I'm doing. So for me to take care of a patient, I'm not just doing tasks, I'm leaning into that patient. I'm looking beyond the disease process to the human behind the disease, really touching those needs. And that's what I found so fascinating, because as nurses, as professionals, you can get so busy doing stuff that you forget that you have a human being on the other side that's really struggling with this diagnosis that they have. And so when I go in authentically present. I go in as the healing environment. I'm going in with intention. And that's what really it reignited me so much so that I began to start teaching others how to use the theory in their practice. And so that has been a game changer for me. I truly believe, Catherine, if I hadn't become a Caritas coach, I probably would not be in the profession, because that's the type of challenge I was having in 2010, but that brought so much life and so much inspiration to me that I began to say, okay, this is what I was needing. I needed something to shift my focus from what I was doing. Not that what I was doing was wrong. It was just when it's time for you to grow, you need to move into that or you're going to be uncomfortable or you're not going to be happy, right? So the quote that I like to wrap that whole story up is you don't die when your heart stops beating. You die when your heartbeats have no meaning. My heartbeats stopped having meaning, and I was on a quest to find out why. Yes. And so that Caring Science really reignited the passion for the profession, and I have been going strong ever since 2010.
Well, you can see it. I mean, your Sunshine Quotient is huge, right? and that makes a difference. And isn't it so fascinating that the patients do so much better when they understand the basics of how they operate? Yes. And they're given tools and skills that they can continue to develop on their own to support themselves. And
absolutely
right. And when people don't understand that and they're handing their health over to specific people and yet an entity, right? A culture of healthcare, it's not very successful.
That's right. Because, if you really think about it, especially what we've endured in 2020, in 2020, nurses became like robots because they were so short-staffed. They were so, just empty, quite honestly. They were seeing death more than normal. And to have to still go in there and you actually be the one that say goodbye to the person and their family members not there, that moral injury that caused was really something else. And so as a nurse that is authentically present, you love that you were able to be there when someone else wasn't able to be there. Mm-hmm. You start seeing that. But if I'm not right with myself, Catherine, if I have no compassion anymore, and I'm just seeing you as an object, I am not going to give you the best care that you deserve. And so that's why I think it's so important for us to look at other ways like Caring Science that can help you to remember why you actually went into the profession in the first place.
That's
right?
It. Yeah. Yes. And it makes a huge difference, not only for them, but for ourselves and our own health.
Yes, absolutely.
When we're not whole on our side, then our health is in jeopardy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true when you said that, because I even think about times when I was struggling and how exhausted I was after a day's work, because here I am. I'm like, okay, I used to love what I do, but I'm not loving this anymore. But I got to force myself to get in here. But I really couldn't be my true authentic self in that way. I could come up and I could fake it, right? But true essence and really coming in as the healing environment. My intention now, after that moment was, I am the healing environment. Yes. So as I arrive, I impact. As I touch, I heal. Mm-hmm. So you know what I'm saying? That's the intention that I had to start going in with. And that shifted the atmosphere when you show up in that manner. And so that's why you have to do the work to find out that I will reignite something within you that has died. And so I'm so thankful, honestly, for the work that I was able to do there.
Oh, it's fabulous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you think about the body, mind, spirit connection and how our energy radiates out all around us, and when we are that healing energy, when we are that high vibrational energy that comes into the room or the home or wherever it is, where we're, connecting with this patient or this client, it sets the tone, doesn't it?
Yes, it really does. And think about it also as a leader, since I was leading in these environments. So there would be times I used to work night shift. It would be so chaotic when I got there. And it's like, okay, I am not going to allow this environment to dictate to me. So I have to be the one that shifts this atmosphere so that my team can shift into a greater coherence. And that's why I love HeartMath, because HeartMath is so intentional that it causes you to be the one in control and to shift that whole atmosphere. If I have a nurse that's chaotic and challenged, I could go in with my authentic presence, healing presence, and I can shift her field on the inside of her. And it's so powerful.
Yes. And it's fabulous. And it's really very fun.
Yes.
To be able, and what a gift for not only ourselves, but for that person that you're inviting to make that shift.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is an invitation.
Yes.
And to, I don't know if surrender is the right word, but, the energy that we're putting out is actually an invitation to allow them to surrender a little bit and go, oh.
Yes, I like that word. I think you're right.
This feels way better.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, what a gift. I would love I have an example. I got to share this example with you. So one day, now, normally, Catherine, I'm like totally like, cool. I'm shifting my atmosphere. Everything's going great. I come in the morning. I say, you're loved and appreciated to my staff. And one day I forgot what was happening. There was something happening with me that I did not feel right. Right. So I show up and I'm doing my rounds. I call them my love rounds, but I did not say you're loved and appreciated. I did not engage like I normally do. And there was about 5 nurses. And they were like, Charlene, is everything okay?
Right.
And they all circled me and just gave heart to me. And it infused me with so much love. And I was in tears just about, because they picked it up. They've learned how to tap in when somebody is not coherent, and they used heart and radiated love toward me in that moment. So it was so powerful. So agree with what you're talking about.
Well, what's really wonderful, too, is that when you get in tune with all of this, it's a whole different way of living.
Yes, it is.
And I believe it makes it actually that much easier to tune out all of this that is coming at us from every different direction, and to be way more discerning on what we're actually going to allow in.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Very powerful. Okay, I have another story for that, Miss Catherine.
Okay, good.
And this comes around to those daily practices that we do for ourselves to really take care of ourselves. And so this one is just a mantra that I began to set. This is when I took HeartMath and I became a certified trainer. So we were talking about intentions and setting mantras and things like that. So my mantra began to be, this is when I stepped from a frontline staff to leadership, because I recognized that things were really chaotic and just a lot of stuff coming at me, literally before I even get out of bed. When I look at the phone, it's trouble. And so I decided, I gotta for instance, HeartMath, the definition for resilience is the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of adversity, right? And so I was like, okay, I got to prepare myself a little bit better than I have been doing. And so I decided to say, you know what, this is my mantra. I'm going to lock this word into my heart, anchor it deeply into my heart. Before my feet hit the ground, Charlene says that I walk in undisturbed composure. And so that indicates that, guess what? I am going to be disturbed as soon as I look at my phone. And so I start saying that over and practicing it every day, over and over. I mean, this is since 2011. And so when I come in, I literally have this undisturbed composure around me like a force field. That's what I see. I see a force field protecting me because I've locked locked in into my heart. I've anchored that word into my heart. And now I'm going in. And I remember one day I was going in, and I mean, they were just on the complaining bandwagon. And they were just, yeah. And I'm just smiling. I said, good morning to you. You are so loved and appreciated, almost as if I didn't hear them. And then she said, but did you hear what I told you? I was like, I actually did. But today I'm choosing to walk in undisturbed composure, and I'm not going to allow that negativity to infiltrate me. And she looked at me like, whoa. Oh, okay. Is that how we do it? I said, yes, that's how you do it. When negative things start coming in, you have a choice to either allow it to enter in or to let it bounce off for your shield. So everybody knows me now that Charlene walks in peace. And when she's coming in, peace is coming into the room. And if she's not, there's something wrong. So yes, you're so right.
Well, I just love that you do that. And back to that invitation.
Yes.
It's not only the people that you work with, it's that healing work that you do with the patients as well.
Absolutely.
Right. Because even, in leadership positions, we're still working with the patient. Right?
Yeah, we are. Because you have to go in and you have to, like sometimes as a manager, you have to go in and recover because we've done something that we shouldn't have done, or the experience didn't go like they wanted it to. So now I have to authentically come in and apologize profusely for us messing up someone's experience. So it's an invitation. And I love that it's an invitation to humanity. Me as humanity, I'm invited to really be the highest expression of myself so that I can impact everybody that I'm with, like literally whoever you are. I want to be able to leave you and you say, you know what? Oh, wow, it was really great talking to Charlene. You know what I mean? Like even in recovery mode, like that's my intention when I go into a room to, apologize and find out about the misstep. I still am going in with this healing piece in me saying that, make sure that they feel better when you leave. I know it's going to be challenging. I know I'm going to have to lean into a very difficult conversation, but surrender yourself, listen to everything that needs to be said, and just absolutely profusely apologize authentically. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and a big piece of that you touched on also is about the listening.
Yes.
It's just amazing sometimes how when we don't listen, and we are pretty much convinced about, what our position is and we're going to say, and, all of these things. And after you do actually go in and do listen, it's just like, wow, I was way off.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're so right. You're so right. Not even
what really happened, And so the story that was related to me certainly was from a perspective that was not the patient's perspective, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that there are as many perspectives on the planet as there are people. And so when we're not open to hearing what their perspective is, we're not going to learn anything or learn how to collaborate moving forward.
Yeah,
or to maybe we're not going to collaborate. Maybe we're going to agree to disagree.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? That's really important. Something that you said, because with caring science, there's 10 practices that nurses use that are, kind of behaviors or the way that you practice. And so one of them is Caritas process number 5, and it's listening to the positive and negative expressions of another person and listening to their story. And so it invites you to be okay with hearing the negative, like hearing the complaints or hearing if you've said something wrong or you judge someone or you have bias toward another person. It creates a psychologically safe space where you can say, you know what? I really didn't like that you said A, B, and C. Yeah. And I mean, it invites that dialogue, which is so beautiful. And that's why that being piece of caring science, To be is to be human. To be is to be love. And the first process is to practice loving kindness toward yourself first, and then toward another person. And so when I'm doing the work on myself, when I'm loving myself, all of the positive and negative things that I see about myself, when I'm loving me, I'm so much more better for another human being. And I think like Caritas process number 1, which is practice loving kindness toward yourself and others, is so critical for nurses because nurses don't take care of themselves, period. And so when we start loving us, when we start taking care of ourselves, when we start saying, you know what, I'm worth it, I am enough, I am amazing, I am rocking this, I am slaying this, then it's a whole different ball game and you feel so much different. But it's like that self-discovery that you said, you have to figure that piece out.
Oh, absolutely. It's so interesting because by the time I was 23 years old, I was charge nurse of a small intensive care unit.
Wow.
And by the time I was 25, I was in a hip to breast back brace. I bent over one day to pick up a piece of paper and I couldn't stand up. And all the people were too heavy. All the equipment was too heavy. And L4 had just splintered, was all in pieces. And I did have a marvelous repair at the Mayo Clinic. And my prescription was to walk at least 1 mile a day for a year and to wear this back brace for a year. So I'm back in Florida. I've lost everything, about 30 pounds lighter than you see me now, right? And
oh, wow.
Like this walking skeleton in this back brace. I had 2 back braces and 2 bikinis. I'm sleeping on a friend's couch. And I go to the beach every day. And my mantra at that time was, this is not going to be my life.
Hey, that's good.
And I could see where people coming into the unit hadn't been taking care of themselves. But here I am in the same boat. I worked myself right into the ground, working way too many hours, just doing way too much and not taking care of myself. And I started listening to Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle on cassette tapes. And learning about the body-mind connection and more about the body-mind-spirit connection. So by this time, it's in the 80s. And, when in regard to self-care, it was, be your own best friend. And I'm like, what?
What is that?
How am I going to be my own best friend, right? And it was just like, So I thought, okay, if I could be turning cartwheels to do all of the things that I was doing for patients, why wasn't I doing that for me?
Yeah.
And I started becoming my own best patient. I started becoming my own best client. And then you get to be, have to understand what that self-compassion is and what the self-love is. And I think that self-care is often misunderstood.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one other big piece that I learned about, just even caring for yourself is not saying yes to everything. Right. Like, why do I have to say yes? And I'm saying that because I had such a challenge with that, Catherine, because you know how it is. Like sometimes things happen and guess what? Charlene's stepping up to the plate. Something else happens. Charlene's going to step up to the plate. And so I was sitting on this healing circle about self-compassion. And it was virtual and it was around 2021. And I'm telling you, I turned my camera off and I wept probably for about 30 minutes because the aha moment came that, oh my God, Charlene, you keep stepping up for everybody else, but you're not being true to yourself. So that was the awakening for me to say, to thy own self, be true. And that's what I began to do. And I began to say no. I began to say, you know what, that doesn't align with my heart. That doesn't align with my vision. I don't want to do that. And it has been so liberating to be in that space now. Oh. It took me a while to get there, but now it's very easy for me to say, I'm sorry, that doesn't align.
Right. What's fascinating is when sticky notes first came out,
yes,
I was like, oh my gosh, I wrote big no on them and I put them by each phone.
I love it.
And I got so much better at saying, I'll have to look at my calendar and then I'll get back to you. Instead of like, oh yeah, I can help you do that. Yeah, I can fix that. Oh, no problem. Right? It's just like,
That's so good. I love that.
and what's funny, I have to laugh at myself sometimes because I still do that with sticky notes on occasion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
remind, because when you talk about working with intention and prioritizing and whatnot, and if we're overcommitted, what's there to prioritize? There's no time left for ourselves.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And I'm going to take that nugget with me. I am, with this new journey that I'm heading into, I definitely going to take that to heart because, it's so easy, even in the beginning stages of me developing, I find myself trying to go in so many different directions. So definitely I'm taking that to heart. So
There
thank
you
you for
go.
that.
Yeah. Because when we can focus on ourselves and we each know what it is that lights us up.
Yes.
Not just you and me, but everybody knows what
Yes.
lights them up. And what I really love about what we're each doing is that we're allowing ourselves to be lit up.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
There is just no other way to be. I just think about the impact when you become the light. And that's what's one of Dr. Jane Watson's quote is, I am the light in institutional darkness. Because I have to be that beacon of light. Like I've had to speak up and be very disruptive at times because the system is going to be the system. But when you really become an advocate for nurses, for patients, for the work, then you don't mind disrupting things a little bit. And I think that has been such a reward for me to find my voice and then actually release it out to where it needs to be. I never would have did that before, Catherine, if I didn't know who I was. Never. So it went with the journey of me finding out who I was first. And then I was able to actually say what I needed to say with no fear and no retributions or anything.
Because we're not looking for validation from anyone else.
That's right.
From our perspective, and we would love to think that everybody has a fabulous moral compass.
Yes.
And because there's every level of vibrational energy out there, some people subscribe to lower energy, thoughts, activities than other people. And when we understand that, it's so much easier to put ourselves out there as to, how about considering this?
Yeah.
Considering an alternative. Something that is at a higher vibrational level that invites the love and the compassion for ourselves and for everyone else. And I think that's hugely important to be the role model, right? And particularly with kids, because they observe and they absorb everything.
Yes, you're so right about that. So I'm excited about even the work that you're doing with changing the language for kids. That's great. And because we, like the older people, we need to know the language, the right language that we should use, because you've been indoctrinated from those that are above you a lot of times, and you're not saying the right things all the time.
Well, and sometimes we don't even realize.
Yeah.
It was interesting today because I was at the gym and I work with a trainer once a week, and the other days I go on my own. And so I'm with the trainer today, and I'm listening to the music that's on at the gym, and I'm like, this doesn't feel good. The language that was in some of the music that was playing, and I'm like, and everybody else seems to not be noticing that, right? But I'm just like, ooh, this isn't setting well with me. And it's not because, I'm certainly not a goody two shoes, but I also understand the vibrational level of how we talk to ourselves and what kind of language we allow in, because everything that we hear, everything that we see, is part of what's programming us. And
Yes.
when we're not selective as to how we're programming ourselves, then there's a conflict there.
Absolutely. Our words carry weight. I am the same way with you as you are. I put my own music on because of that, because I've heard, I mean, just so much negativity in the lyrics a lot of times. So I'm running and I'm getting myself healthy. I want all power, all inspiration, all whatever I need to keep me going.
Right. Right. Well, because we can, getting back to what we've been programmed with growing up, we can reprogram ourselves. We can
Yes.
create those new neural pathways. And that's why I'm so thrilled about, your 10 concepts that you work with, because it allows for a great change within each you and me, and the ones of us that choose to use that type of thing. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really gives you language to, like, the practice that you're doing to be like your best self. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I know it's not just me, but every day, Catherine, I'm looking at being better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to stay the same. I want to love faster. I want to forgive quicker. I want to just be the best that I can be every day. And because I know that I have room for improvement, I literally call myself a full-time job. It takes me 24/7 just to make sure that I'm being who I'm authentically supposed to be, right?
Oh, I know. And it is a big job. It is. And I don't mean big, like it's overwhelming, but big in that it takes time.
Yes.
It takes consistency and
Yes.
understanding the importance of taking care of ourselves and developing ourselves. I think we each have a responsibility to do that. And so, oh my gosh, we could talk for hours and hours, days and days. But we're getting close to our time, and I want two things. What have you discovered in your journey of self-discovery? What's a tool or a skill that you have developed that that you keep going back to, that has become part of your strong suit that you use?
Yeah, I would say honestly, to one of the most important things, because I believe that my alignment with my heart and my head is critical. I want whatever I'm doing to be aligned with my heart first versus my head. I've chose my head long enough. But in order to do that, whenever I feel unrest, whenever I feel uneasiness, restlessness, the practice of pausing, the practice of getting quiet, the practice of silence is so critical, because sometimes there's too much going on in my head. So if I intentionally take some time to pause for myself, not thinking about work, not thinking about family life, not thinking about anything else, just simply pausing. Because when you pause and even do some breath work at the same time, like some of the quick coherences and the HeartMath techniques, so much emerges, and you're able to actually see your way out of this uneasiness and this unrest. And you actually start paying attention because your heart's trying to tell you something. Yeah. But if you're too chaotic, you will not be able to hear it. So I think that would be one of the main things as you're going on your path, as I've gone on my path. Every time I hit that spot of unrest, I pause.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I pause. So that's a reflective practice that I think is really critical as you're going on your journey.
Oh, I believe so too. And I just love that you talk about that, because it's very powerful. Our power is in the present moment.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's critical to understand that. Oh, we're going to have to do this again. So before we go, I want you to please tell people where to find you.
Okay, great. Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. I also have a website, coachcharlene.com. And I also have a podcast as well, which Catherine has been a beautiful guest on, When the Moment Chooses You. So you can find me at any of those vehicles. And
Oh,
thank you so much.
well, thank you very much. Thank you for being here today. And I'm just, it's so fun that we each have a podcast going. And
Yes,
right,
I
and so
know.
I know, and the fun of conversations with different people and what we learn from those, and
Yes.
I just love it. So
Yeah.
here we are, both putting our hearts out, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining in today on the You've Got Nurse Series podcast. I appreciate your time, as our time is our most precious commodity. We never get the time back. Using our time intentionally and with purpose makes a difference. Kindly like and share if you find this content helpful. I invite you to explore a bit more of the work, which you can find on my websites of you'vegotnurse.org and theartofselfcraftsmanship.org. It will be my pleasure to hear from you with any questions you may have. Take good care of you and your ultimate mind diet in the meantime.